kind of slept in. My husband's on vacation for a couple weeks, so been taking advantage of not having to get up super early. Plus, my son's still on summer vacation, so. But in a couple weeks, I'll have the house to myself, and it'll be nice and quiet. Anyway, we're back to work on the swimming pool. There's just a week left to get this finished up, because that's when the deadline is, that we said, or I said. So we're going to see if we can start getting this kind of towards the finished kind of feel. I tried brainstorming over things that I might want to include. There's lots of things you could add that I probably won't be adding. You know, you could build a curlicue slide or just a straight slide. You could build some changing rooms for your visitors to, you know, change into their bathing suits. You could build restrooms next to that if you wanted. But I don't think I'm going to add any of those. There's still a lot of little details that I'd like to add that will probably keep me well occupied before the end. So the main thing is I think we need to address is the lighting for sure. How we're going to set up the lighting, what kind of lights, what they're going to look like, and where I'm going to put them. I mentioned, I guess it was Friday, that you could kind of sort of light up the pool by either installing lights along the side here or have it right inside the trim here. And I think I'm going to try inside the trim and see how that looks. And it's probably not going to be very bright because they are going to be sized down quite a bit. Excuse me. But we'll see. I'll probably also be adding a couple of hanging light fixtures here as well above the pool, and maybe adding some kind of lighting situation here just to kind of help light up this a little bit more. As far as lights on a pole or anything, I'm not sure about that. We'll see though how it kind of turns out. So first things first, if I'm going to put lights in around the edge here, when it's especially a shape like this, you're going to start in the corner, and so, and then you, for me, I would, you know, want to kind of make sure it's evened up. So if I put some in the corners, then I'm going to probably start off in the middle as well. Now the middle, it'll probably be blocking the one that's here, but I think that'll be okay. But just to kind of evenly space them, you start on the sides first, then you go to the middle, and then you put some in between these two. It's a little easier if you're just kind of eyeballing it to kind of gauge whether or not it's even. There's probably ways you can do it and get it right on the money, but we're just going to do it kind of quick and dirty. I think the sconces will work all right. They've got, oops, oh, let me do the reload. Anyway, I think the sconces will work all right for this. It's a nice color. They've got that rounded bit. And I've got enough that I can sink it down into that it should be able to cover up anything that I don't want seen. So we're going to try that. We're just going to start it off here in the corner. On here. And like I said, it's going to be fairly small, so it's probably not going to give as much light as it appears right now. That is okay. So then you have to decide, okay, how big do you want the light to appear, and how are you going to, you know, you want to look like, see, this is kind of looking like a little square, which is kind of nice. It's and I'm just using the lines on the decoration here to kind of set it up in a spot. So something like that. And you can see if I move this off, still a bit of light. So kind of, especially if I move this off further and let the natural darkness take over, you can see it's gonna pop pretty good. For now though, we'll leave that where it is. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna copy, and then I'm gonna drag that over and get it set up in the corner as well. Now notice that that didn't come up line in there. Let's try that different, just to see the difference. That was moving it by object. I'm gonna by world and see if that brings it up. Yeah, see, that's better. It's still lined up, and I just have to line it this. That looks good. Now, if you want your lights smaller, different color, you could use a variety of things. You could use, if you want to give it like a little bit extra decoration, you could probably get away with using the colored orange windows, any of them, the pink ones, the colorful ones, or the orange ones work as well. But since I'm actually wanting some kind of ambient light coming from it, I prefer to use the actual lights. I don't know, you could probably get away with using spotlights, having them pointing straight up would probably work fine. You wouldn't want to use the one that's animated, but like I think it's the Chua spotlight that's it's straight and stationary. It really just depends on the kind of look that you're going for as far as to what light you might want to use. You could probably use some neon bits here and there if you got the, say, the beer sign and just use the blue edge. That would probably work. Some of the exonite pieces, like the wall, if you shrunk it down enough, you could just make a nice solid strip of color. But again, I don't know if a lot of those bits will actually give off a good amount of light. That might reduce the need for actual lamps and things that you have to put in place. So we're gonna try Capias and see how copies here. That looks good. And again, I'm just eyeballing it, just kind of seeing, well, it looks all right there. Excuse me. It actually could probably go. So now if I'm moving this one, I gotta make sure I move all the other, well, to line it up good. That's a 1694. To ensure that they're all even. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it just probably just these three on the ends for now, and if I decide I want to add in a good way to check is probably just lining the lights up with the lines here. would be the easiest way to do it. And that means you'd have to have like a ton of them on the long side. But we're going to start off with just like every other one and see how that looks. So every other one will start at here. And you can see already, I'm going to have to turn this around so that it's not sticking out. I may have to do. So we're going to have to eyeball in pretty much all our cells. But it's good. Once you get the one down, then you'll be able to copy it the other side and all that. Now notice these lines don't match up exactly, so that's something to think about. But hard to see the arrow here. That looks pretty good. So again, we're going to skip this one and we'll move it here. And hopefully it comes out even. Maybe I should, well, we'll just go with the flow. If I have to move them, we'll move. Wow, that didn't work at all, did it? Try that again. See, sometimes I don't know, it acts weird if you move it by the world or move it by the object. Key. Now I'm mostly looking at this line. I'm not really paying too much attention to that one, so if they were better lined up, used exact measurements, it would probably be exact, but anyway. It's not going to come out right, so go ahead and drag this over here. And I'll get it set up in the corner. But what I'm going to do is I'll pretend that this is a special point and we'll set it here, so it should be here and here. That way it kind of avoids having that middle line and still kind of maybe you'll see what I'm talking about here shortly. If I had, planned it out a little more and kind of thought ahead, okay, I have these segments here, but when you're building stuff, you're not always quite sure what kind of materials you're going to use, shapes are going to come in, the sizes you're going to use them as. It's really hard to plan right down to the T, unless you're willing to stretch things a little beyond what you're really envisioning. So, you kind of have to improvise as you go. Okay, so that looks all right. And let's see. This side as well. Now the area with the bar is going to be a little treated a little differently because of where the bar is and things like that. Okay. I need to parts. Arrow. Where are you? Right here, maybe? Okay, so now we need to bring in the bits here. So if I skip this one and put it here, that means this area is going to be pretty crammed with light. So we'll put these, the ones on the side here. And then we'll move, let's see, let me see how this. Move this. Let me see what. I don't know if I can use the same number. Okay. Probably gonna have to readjust again. Get this turned right. No. I'll just do it like, I think this one will work. Excuse me. One more for this side. Okay, and then how are we going to do this? Decision. Hey, Herod. If you're asking if this is a spacious house, no, it's not. Let's leave that be for now. And let's at least great to see just how lit up this really is. There we go. Not too bad. Gives some lighting to the pool itself. Kind of gives the carrot a little creepy, scary look actually. That like underlit. No problem. Okay, let's see. As far as lighting for the bar, how do we want to do this? I don't think we have too many light things. play around with. Like I said, I would probably, if I actually wanted to go through the trouble of collecting the materials, I could probably go with some neon strips around it. That would probably, you know, make it pop pretty good. I don't think I have any. So if I'm just looking at the lighting that's available, candles, which is kind of lame, fancy hanging lamps, those would probably work pretty good for you. Sconces, that's expensive. Oh, The colored lights are nice, but again, it costs renown. I tend to not spend renown if I don't really have to on these little side projects because I don't know, I'm just a stingy pants, I guess. Let's see if we can do something with the exonite. Maybe it's not called exonite. Let's look up wall. I thought there was some. Maybe it's from an actual vendor. If it is, then now it looks like it is from somewhere else. So let's see. How do we want to do this? I could probably go ahead and add one here on the ends. Kind of the reason I'm doing it this way is because I really don't want to have too many different kinds of lights, because it starts looking, I don't know, it's just like with the neon, what I was talking about. I was almost hesitant to even suggest that. I would probably really go with the exonite blocks and just use that to give some trim under here, because it's kind of the same color. It's a yellow and orangish look. That really helps light up this, just putting these two in and dropping them. Again, since these have got this little cut in, you want to make sure that it's not showing through on the side, which it looks like it's okay. Lights up the little shelving real nice. So that works out pretty good. Even in the dark, it doesn't look too bad. I kind of like how that turned out. The only other thing is, I think we will see about spreading these out a bit and maybe adding some drink tables or maybe some parasols. Not here, but in different areas for some that want to sit by the pool, but they don't necessarily want to be catching a tan. The only thing about moving these is I really don't want to go through the headache of moving every single one of these as well. So this one's going to stay put. He's not moving. But what I think will happen is I'm going to add an extra chair and just make it one per tile here, since this one is already kind of in the middle. We're just going to see if we can get away with moving all of these. Now, yeah, everything should move and stick to their original size, because I think everything is above the default 0.2, so shouldn't be too much problem there. Knock on wood. So let's just tentatively attempt this. Make sure you get all the pieces. Thankfully, because of the way we changed it from the exile floors to the decking, it's fewer pieces. You know, one less piece, but it's still fewer. Oops, it still changed anyway. Well, that's all right. We can fix that. So we want it kind of in the middle. And like I said, when this happens, don't panic. Just breathe easy, and we'll get it sorted. So these are 0.25, so we should be able to just pop them right back down where they were. And this was, voila, all back the way it was. Okay, so we'll do the same for this one, and we'll just move it here, and then we'll add a new one on this side. And then we'll add in some little drink tables for those that are lounging out here. They don't want to get up and get the drink. They just want it right there. Maybe one will have a book. We'll see. But first, let's move it. So again, you got to link it all. And I usually pick, if it's something like this, I usually pick the biggest item to be the parent of the set. Because I tend to click on the biggest one when I'm moving something. If it's a row of similar items, then I pick one end usually instead of picking like arbitrarily somewhere in the middle, you know, because you can forget which one it is that you made the parent, and that can be an issue. Let's see, did I grab everything? We're just going to drag it over, and again, it's going to wig out and change the sizes, but that's okay. It still remembers where it's supposed to be. It's just you gotta, you know, remind it. So this we had at 0.16, I believe. And these were at 0.25. Now the reason these probably resized even though they were above the default is because sometimes when you've got things sunk down or close to the surface, sometimes it goes a little wonky. So something to keep in mind. I'm sure those are little quirks and things that Carbine will eventually iron out, but in the meantime you learn to work with them. That's why when I'm moving stuff or just, you know, manipulating things, I do it in small bits because you never know how things are going to react. Look higher. Let me see. Just checking the height on. Yeah. It moved it just a little bit. Oops. Oh, that was good. I think I moved all of it. Yeah, I moved all of it. That was my bad. So let's see. I'm gonna make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. And these were at 28. It's not a lot, but I noticed it. So I've got to tweak it again. It just looked like the legs were not attached to the seat. And things like that. When I go to visit somebody else's house, I notice that. And so I'm always very conscious about how it looks on my own plot. I don't know why it changed the height of the seat here as opposed to the others. The others seem to stay where they were. I don't know. Oops, fell right into the pool. Good thing there's no water yet. Okay, so there's the 3. Now we need a 4th. And let's see, I guess we'll just do a, I think I'm far enough away. Dang it, fell into the pool again. Problems. Okay, so did I copy that? I don't remember. We'll just do it anyway. Shift, and then we're just gonna drag it right over here. And I'm just going to eyeball this. Usually I go ahead and lift it back up to kind of see where it is in relation to the corner when I'm doing legs for tables, chairs, things like that. But we're just going to kind of, yeah, that's good. Thankfully, the pillars don't offset as far as I can tell. Oh, that's less for worry and work for us. Alrighty, let's see. Last piece. Voila. Now we have 4 lounge chairs. Now, if you don't want it nice and straight and perfectly aligned, you don't have to make it that way. It's just, I have a tendency to do that on a lot of things. Unless I'm specifically wanting to make it look disheveled, like in a bar fight or something. Then you have some hairs turned funny and all that kind of stuff. But for this, you keep it nice and neat. But again, you don't have to. It's just me being me. Okay, so tables. Tables. Now, for the parasols, I think since this is where the bar is, I think I'll have some, maybe 1, 2 drinking tables here with like some stools. So what we'll do is, well, no, maybe we should put that over here. What I'm thinking of is adding some parasols. I've made them at my my mains plot before using plates, and I think I'm going to stick with that idea. It's quick, it's easy. There's no trying to piece weird bits together like the triangle pieces and everything. It is possible with that. I've seen a lot of people make some nice gazebo tops with those things. Excuse me. But I think just for quick and easy, we're just going to use plates. So I think we'll start with those first because, well, I can't spell where's the spot here. Now, I could use the metal ones, but the problem with those is, for me, let me see if I can, first let's see if I don't lose my voice. If I size it up, you can see the design nicely on the top, but if we turn it over, it's just this kind of, I don't know, looks like a top of a trash can. This is what it reminds me of. It's not very pretty. And it's not that the white plate is any prettier, but I don't know, it looks smoother and it looks more like a parasol to me. And of course, those are the only two plates we actually have. What I'd love is some building blocks that are discs and not as steep a dome as the domes are, just kind of like a, I don't know how you'd call it. But we'll just, whoops, meant to place a plate. Guess I didn't have it selected. Let's see, we'll put in a few just to kind of fill this up, make it look good and busy. Again, you don't have to put in this many, I'm just going kind of overboard. I may end up reducing it down, it depends on how all this looks. Now, for my mains build, I actually use multiple plates to kind of give it a almost like a flower look. It had scalloped bits to it and everything. I'm not going to get that fancy schmancy here. I'm just going to make some large parasol type things. Now the main thing you need to worry about is if you put this in, you want to make sure there's plenty of walking space. You know, you don't want your character to get caught underneath the parasol. Now because this is going to be probably going to need the stick there, that's going to be awkward. What I may end up doing is just extending this out a bit, give some extra walking room. I think that might work. Do that. Let's see. How do I want to do that? Let's just do up to that. Okay. Put some floors in here. It's just because I want there to be plenty of walking room. I don't want to crowd this, and just because of this, the width I made this, it looks a little ramped, kinda. So we're just going to change it up a little bit. Yeah, I think that'll work. I'm gonna move this out. Pardon me. Kind of like an extra decking part, and then we'll have the tables out here. That way there's plenty of walking room for those that are enjoying the pool. And I think that's as far as we will extend it. So let's. Oh, it was close. One little bit off. Now, I said in the beginning I wanted to keep this simple and nothing fancy, but I just keep adding to it. And that's kind of the funny part about building is once you get into it, you start seeing things or thinking of things that, hey, you know, this could work and I could do that and maybe I should try this. And it just kind of blossoms from there. That's part of the fun for me. I really enjoy, you know, that kind of thing. Okay. Now we'll extend it equally out this way. Again, I'm just kind of eyeballing things. I'm not really taking any kind of measurements or anything. You can if you want to, if that's what, you know, makes you comfortable. If you gotta have that accuracy, nothing wrong with that. I just tend to wing it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I end up giving myself more work in the long run because I've not lined something up perfectly. So my way is definitely not for everybody if you're really persnickety about, you know, corners being kind of just a little bit off or something not quite lining up just right, then definitely don't go with my method because, let's see, I think that's far enough on that. So we'll just bring these out. Again, there's lots of things you could add. You don't have to do this. Even the shape, if you really want to get fancy and make a kidney shape or a round one, or, you know, who knows. You could even get fancy and actually put in tile designs in the bottom of your pool. I've seen a lot of fancy, schmancy pools set up that way. You know, that would be great. Now, the water in the PTR that we're getting, the winding river and the waterfalls, as far as I can remember, I'll have to double check on this, but as far as I can remember, they're kind of opaque. You can't see what's directly underneath them. So unfortunately, that kind of water, like the swimming pool, the little kiddie pool fab kit, even the water in that, I think it's opaque as well. So for folks that are hoping to have water decor that you could make realistic looking aquariums and things like that, I think even if they didn't just make them paper thin and all you can see is the top, it still might feel a little weird if you're not going to be able to show all of that pretty nifty stuff like rocks in the bottom of a stream bed or something, because you're just not going to see that. You'll have to have them poking up over the water to actually have them show. So there's give and take on that kind of stuff, but if you're doing it like this and you're just using the glass or something like that, something that's clear, you could get really fancy and like make, I don't know, a fish design, or I don't know, some initials for your guild or something. I think this one owns it onto the front. Yeah. Lucky. Just to cleanly close it all off. You see my lights hanging in there. Call this one, I guess, since it's in the right position, sort of. Starting to get that lag again, so I'm going to have to do a reload UI here real quick. Okay, so we've extended this out a little bit just to give some extra playroom for our beachgoers. So what we're going to do is I'm going to maybe move this. Let's see. First, I'm going to make it flat, sort of. And this is just to help me better line it up with the center of this. Again, you don't have to be, you could put it more to the side if you want. I'm just going to kind of try and sort of line it up. And then we're going to pop it back up. I think it was 625 was alright. It might feel a little weird to some of the taller guests, but we'll. Maybe a little higher. That'll be alright. I mean, they'll probably be sitting under it. Oh, it'll be fine. Okay. Probably use the Cassian pillars for these. Now I want this to be pretty, I don't want it to be big and clunky like, so we're going to size it down. But if it still looks too bulky, we'll probably use two, kind of like what we did here. Square that up first. Now, usually I use the top of this, but I'm just using the bit here, and I get that in the right spot. If I see that the plate still doesn't look right, then I'll probably move the plate and not the pillar, because the pillar is going to be square in the center of those. It looks pretty bulky though, doesn't it? weird how this kind of goes wonky, dancing as I turn the camera. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. It's alright. And then what we'll do is see how this looks. We're gonna flip it. Whoa. Gonna size it down. Let's try that again. Needed to redo that so I get the position right. Okay, and table size and stuff is always tough for me. I never know what looks normal, you know, as far as height goes. I feel like the table's usually like waist height, sort of. So now you have a parasol kind of eating thing, sort of. Let's see what kind of seating we got. I don't think we have very many of them. I don't think any of this is going to work. If you were already putting a lot of red or whatever in your build, then that would probably work. I think I'm just going to use little cylinder and put, I don't know, 3 or 4 around it or something, maybe 1 in each quadrant, something like that. I may actually end up a bit more way so that there's plenty of water. But now let's see. See if I can move the bluey. Don't look too bad. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move it back. That way I can line up the chairs right. And then we'll move it out. I think that's good. So, cylinders. Now I don't think I'll be doing the double bit here. I'll just leave them just simple. These things are huge. See what size are they? 0.10. Again, I know that these seats won't actually be livable. Is that a word? It's just for cosmetics. But if, you know, yeah, I can't even get on there because it's so close to the edge here, to the parasol. So it's not really practical, I guess is a good term. Yeah, because that's just, it looks nice, but it's just not suitable. And that's mostly to do with the collision here, and yeah. But I really don't want to change the size up on this, so it's just going to be purely cosmetic. It's not anything people are actually going to be able to sit at. Well, maybe if I lower this a bit, maybe that will work. Try. Now, if I raise this, still, it's just not gonna work. So I'll just leave it like I had it. We'll pretend that somebody could sit there and else. Okay, so let me back off because that'll probably tell me I can't put that there. Katya's fun. Just kind of eyeballing about where it is. Oh, I was standing too close still, I guess. Yeah. Again, I'm looking like the distance between this and the line here. Get it to line up. I want that looks close. And the same over here. It's the only thing I've found with, well, not the only thing, but one of the things you have to watch for when you use Katya's clone tool is if you're cloning something that usually comes in pretty big, you want to make sure you're a good distance away. Otherwise, you're going to get the error that it's an invalid decor placement or whatever. Now, I was planning to move this around to the side, but I think I'll just leave it. It looks, with the stools in now, I can see it looks like it's pretty good. You can walk all the way around it and not be too confined, squeezed. It looks okay. So, what we'll do is we'll start replicating that over here. And we'll probably do one here and then probably one more. So we'll have 3. I do like the odd numbers. I say that and then I've got the 4 here, but then I've got 3 that are bare and 1 that's got some cover on it, so that kind of fixes it for me. But definitely, I think we'll just do the 3 eating areas. Pardon me. Okay, so first things first, we'll loan the pillar. And this one's going to be easy to line up since it's right in the smack middle of crosswalk here. And since we already have some plates laying out, we'll just and we're just gonna eyeball if it's in the center. Same with this one. Again, I'm just using plates because I find them convenient for this kind of thing. I've used them as tabletops. If you do use them for like a table, like a drinking table or something, which I will probably do over here. I'll show you what I'm talking about, but you would have like this being the top, and you could leave it with just the pillar here, but what I do is I also add the foot, and basically I take this and drop it down and size it so that it looks like it's got a foot, and it makes it a nice little table. I did that for a guildmate of mine that wanted a barbecue kind of setting with chairs and benches and things, and I made a few drinking tables that way, and it turned out pretty nice. It's using the same materials, but you know, it works. So I'll probably do that over here later. Okay, so whoops, let me make sure I'm far enough away. So far that I can't see the things. Now this is going to be trickier because I want to make sure I got it close enough. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. And basically it's kind of tucked under the lip there. And you can see this one's pretty far off, so we're going to kind of tuck it under there. If you come from over here, then there's still plenty of space, but from this point of view, it looks like it's tucked under, so that's good. Okay, then we'll move that over, and the same. Make sure it looks like it's kind of tucked under, but not too far. So, like, sort of right around there. Kind of, sort of. It probably would have been easier to kind of gauge it a little better if, say, I had not done the top first and was able to kind of line everything up. But again, that's me being me. Okay, this time I'm going to drag it this way, and again I'm going to be looking about so it looks just to the inside of the lineup there. In fact, this one looks like it could probably go in a little bit. That one's pretty close already. Put it back up. I don't know if that's far enough. do the same. A little. Little offset. Looks pretty good. And let's see. Do we want to do a third one here? Because that's going to kind of squeeze into Mr. I think we'll leave this open. But maybe we'll put something else here. Not quite sure what yet. I'll give it some thought. We are going to, let's see, put a drink on this one. Let's see, is that in the cookware barware? Yes, it is. I know I say I hate spending the renown, but for this special occasion, I'm going to splurge. Now, the thing with this, I want to make sure it is matching here, so make sure the size is. Of course, this one's slanted because of how the table is set, so I'll have to straighten it. So, otherwise, it looks. Okay, and he needs a pretty umbrella too, so kind of orange window do we have? Let's do orange windows. We use the colorful one at the bar, so let's use an orange one. The pink, the only thing I don't like about the pink is it's got this little weird doohickey here. Not that big of a deal, but I don't know. I prefer the rounder ones. So we're going to lay that out there, and then I'm going to check the sizes of these here. So the window I had at 0.06 and filler I had at 0.04. 6 and 4. So now that one is tilted this way, so we're going to make this one way. I mean, you want similarity, but you don't want it be. You want to mix it up a little bit. Gotta get really close. You don't want your umbrella to be oddly placed. Add on. Definitely got to look at it from all angles. Get it just the way you want. That looks pretty close. And I think it was an orange pillar that we used for that. I think that's because I had extra. So we'll do that again. And again, I'm just going to be slapping it right on the window itself. And see if we can get the angle of the window better. something like that. That's quite right. Really tough to work with these little bitty pieces as well. Try that again. I'm not quite right. No, that feels weird, doesn't it? Try it this way. There's probably an easier way to do this, but this isn't leaning right. Try it this way. Move the window. Ah, my neck. There, that's a little better. It's just a little too high up, maybe. Ugh. Yeah, I think it needs to be a little lower. Ugh, turned it. There we go. That looks better. Might not be 100% accurate, but it's alright. Good enough for me. So there we got a little fancy drink there. Again, I'm not sure what I'm going to put here, but we'll think of something. If you hear some loud banging and stuff, my husband and son on their vacation time are trying to redo our garden area. A lot of noise coming from the backyard. Okay. Drinking tables for our loungers. Probably just gonna put in maybe 2 here, so that the 2 people here can share one table and the 2 people here table, rather than putting one for one. I think that would be best. So what we'll do is, I don't know if that offsets it at all. Doesn't look like it. I'm gonna drag this over and first get the size right. Obviously this is like way too big for a tabletop. And these 2. That looks more reasonable. Now, they might have to like kind of sit up to get to there, but I don't think it's that big a deal. And again, I like the height. Pretty good height. Of course, this is going to have to be sized down. Let's see. That looks pretty good. Now, this is what I was talking about the foot. Some folks might not even think about it, but I think it's a pretty. We had that at 2, so let's see how that looks. And I just put it in just till it hits the surface. Then you have a nice little footed table. Look like centered though. There we go. So then we just do another one over here. And there we have nice little drinking tables, and it kind of, you know, ties in with what you already have put in. So there's that. Now, I added a drink on this side. There's a drink on this side, so I need another one. So I think I'll put one on this table here. Oops. So we got wine. put it here. Square it up so it's not crooked and look like it's about to fall over. Make it the same size as the other two. Now it's not a big change, but noticeable enough to me that I would want it the same. Like if I use plushies as NPCs, I always make sure they're the same size, unless I'm specifically going for like a parent-child kind of setup. Especially if I'm using the clones, because the clones, you know, they're all supposed to be the same. Make sure you use them. Again, we're going for colorful, so I guess I'll use the pink one since I don't want to match the others. Pink, pink, pink. That is really big. Okay, so this one is slanted to the back. That one's actually kind of slanted to the back as well. So let's make sure this one's slanted that way. Like so. Wow, that's like, you almost can't see it. It's right there. Okay, and since it's slanted that way, I think I'll move it this way. Really bright. Again, look at it from all angles, because from one it might look just perfect, and then take a closer look, you'll see, oops, that's not so right. A little higher, probably. Oops. Something like that. Okay, and then the pillar, I think we got one more in the crate. Yes. Let's see how much fun we can have with this one. Pretty close, I think. Might be a little too. More like that. A little too high. The reason I say it's a little too high is you don't want that little nubbin of the bottom of the of the pillar to be showing. It looks a little odd. You kind of want it sunk into the liquid there. But you still want enough of it on the top so that it isn't going to allow the umbrella part to be like touching the glass. You want it up above it. So that looks okay. Alrighty, so that's our, got some little picnic table area. We got a lounge area. The only other thing I wasn't too fond about is these pots for the palm trees. I'd like to see if I can come up with something a little different. What exactly, I'm not sure, but let's just try an experiment. I'm gonna flip this over. Let's see. Where are we here on the I'm just going to since we got the Draken ones to play with, we'll use them. Pop them up here. Maybe. Just experimenting with different ways of like decorating this a little differently. I don't know if it's going to be really all right or what. Let's goodness. And I'm dotting on it. There you go. It's just a little extra fancy kind of way of setting it up. So it kind of looks like maybe there's some bit kind of underneath uh, rather than just kind of a bowl. The bowl looked a little weird. This actually looks maybe like there's some root growth going on underneath inside the structure itself. I like that much better. You could try different things. You could do squares if you prefer. I just like the difference of the round instead of keeping everything. You know, I've got some round bits here and there, and I kind of wanted to follow through. I went with the rocky bits because I already had some. You could use, you could stick with the patterned look here if you want. But I of course wanted to use the bowl as like some kind of like a dirt, some kind of earth. There's other items you can use for that, but that one plays really well with how we have this already set up. So what we'll do is we'll try and copy that over to here. So what I'll do is I'll just say copy, paste, and drag that over here, and then just kind of line it up because the trees aren't exactly identical. So there is going to be a little bit of difference, but hopefully I can get it to look okay. So then we'll do the same things with the domes. We'll copy the small one first. See if I can. Got the right arrow in there. And just kind of eyeball it. Again, not going to be exact. You wanted to keep the bowls the same and then just adjust the dirt a little bit. If your tree isn't exactly centered up, that's not a big issue, I don't think. But if you want the decoration itself, the dome part to be the same, then definitely change that up. It's probably not quite centered. It looks like it's a little bit leaning more this way. Same with, no, this direction doesn't look too bad. So if you really are a stickler about that, you can change it up, but I kind of like it is. I'm not going to really mess up. Let's see, now we need the bigger size. Probably the easiest way would have been to copy and offset. Yeah, I think we'll do that. Let's see. So this one's at 344. And the big one over here is 330. There we go. So now you have, again, it's just a small change. It's, you know, it wasn't required. And none of this is, it's just extra decoration. Me getting, you know, making things a little bit more complicated than they need to be. But I think it looks classier that way. Yeah, it looks okay to me. I think that's a better way of putting it in than just in the bowl. The bowl kind of bothered me a little bit. Okay, as far as lighting goes, I think most everything's pretty good. These sconces around the pool help pretty well. I could add maybe some actual pole lights here around the back. I'll think about what we might could use for that before we get into it. But I think that's a good place to stop for today. Again, it feels like probably we didn't do a whole lot, but we did add quite a few extra little details. We did the lighting. We worked on these snack tables, the little drink tables for the benches, added a bench or lounge chair, and of course we did this here. Probably either going to wrap it up tomorrow or Thursday, because really, like I said, this is the last week, so probably tomorrow will be the last day we work on this. So be looking forward to how it's going to look with the water put in, and we'll figure out, you know, how many layers of glass we want to add in, because the more layers of glass you throw in, the brighter the color of the blue, so it looks more like foggy water or misty or really heavy ice kind of thing, and you don't want that for your pool. You want to keep it kind of toned back. But yeah, tomorrow we'll probably be adding in the water and then playing around with maybe adding some floaty bits, like an inner tube or something. Maybe one of the carrots is floating around on a little thing or something. But I think we're getting pretty close to calling it finished. Not quite, but pretty close. So fingers crossed we'll get back to that tomorrow and finish it off, and start looking forward to tossing out some ideas as far as what the next project will be. I haven't even given it thought as to what the next CBDC theme will be for next month yet, so that's going to be something I'll have to, you know, figure out. But I appreciate you joining, and I hope you had fun tagging along while I fiddled around on this alt plot of mine. We still got a couple of weeks of the bingo event for my guild, so I'm probably going to be leaving the bingo all up for quite a while. Same with the pool, until I find it absolutely necessary to tear it down, depending on what project comes up next month. But for those that would like to have a closer look, you know, my plots are open to the public, so there's no problem with folks coming in and having a look, see what there is. So yeah, tomorrow we'll get back to work on this. Wednesday, of course, will be house tours for Dominion side. I'm still struggling with trying to find some homes that feel like they're ready for a tour. I know sometimes I kind of go with plots that are half worked or half finished, but really they have to be pretty far along before I even consider that, because it's just kind of polite, but also, you know, it's just, you prefer to kind of see it when it's done. But I've kind of been slumping on that because it's hard to find finished homes on Dominion side that really deserve that extra spotlight. So I've got 2 lined up so far. So we may have a short house tours on Wednesday, but if I can find some more, I'm going to do some hunting around today when I get the chance. So hopefully, you know, fingers crossed, I'll find a few more that will make it worth your while. But be sure and join in then. It's at 1 p.m. CET. Every Wednesday is when I go in, but this week will be for Dominion side. A reminder again, for those that are on Jabbit Realm, whether you're on Exile side or Dominion side, the Geeks of Nexus are hosting a building competition for your house plot. You can enter as many plots as you want. So if you're like an alt fanatic and have a lot of builds on a lot of different alts and feel they're worth a go, be sure and enter that. You have until September 4th, I think, is the deadline for that. After that, they'll be spending a couple of weeks. The judges will be going around touring, and they will be announcing the winners on their live podcast. I think it's on September 20th. But that's Geeks of Nexus that are hosting it. They've been very generous in offering up some nice categories and nice prizes. But it's coming down to the wire. So if you've been working on it, really need to get to cranking on it. I've got at least one guildmate that's kind of cutting it close. He's been working on his plot pretty diligently, and it's looking awesome. But he's still got a lot of work, and it always seems like you never have enough time to do all the things you want to do. But so there's that, and then of course there's still the PTR that's going on. If you are kind of on the fence about getting back into WildStar, if you were like a previous player and you left, after the first drop and said, I've had it, or if you're someone that's maybe never heard of WildStar until now, or you've heard about it but never really decided to give it a chance, now's the time. We have the free-to-play PTR open. It's a closed beta, but it's open to anybody if they want to sign up for it. You have a chance of getting an invite. But the link to that information is on my Twitch page in the resources section. So just click on that. It'll take you to their little news announcement detailing what it all entails. And it gives you links to the PTR forum. It gives you links to where you can sign up for it. And it gives you links to their fact page about exactly what is involved and how you can get in on it. So yeah, be sure and check it out if you haven't already. There's a lot of new things coming. Not just in housing, of course, but housing is where we're focused. So yeah, there's bigger plots. With the cash shop, it's going to be coming ways to upgrade your decor limit. I think it's practically doubles it almost. There's lots of new decor. We've got lots more stone features, water features, snow-covered elements for those that have been dying to make a full-blown winter plot that we just don't have a lot of like white kind of decor that you can comfortably use as snow bits. Folks have gotten around it in certain cases, but when you want to have some snow-covered trees and things, that's a little bit tougher. Well, now those are coming. It's just a few, but it's a start. And I'm sure as the holidays approach with the anticipation of Carbine's events for Endgame that will be coming this year, with Shades Eve being the first one, and then the Protostar Winter Gala extravaganza thing. I'm sure there's going to be more seasonal decor that will be showered upon us. I say showered, I'm optimistic in that respect, but I anticipate there's going to be a lot more things coming out that folks are going to be wanting to experiment with and have fun with. So yeah, anyway, lots to look forward to, lots to do, so little time to do it in. I wish you luck on your own projects, whether it be for the competitions I was mentioning, or just in general you want to deck out your home and make it look pretty. I wish you good luck. So that's it for today. I'll see you guys.